April 8th, will happen a rare event, solar eclipse, and it's the last one visible in the continental US until 2044. The news about this celestial occurrence has captured the attention of many, especially due to its connection to America's former president Donald Trump and his intense White House campaign. Some people even guess that this eclipse could be a sign of the end times. Join us as we delve into the profound prophecy behind the 2024 solar eclipse, exploring its correlation with the 4 blood moon tetrads, its alignment with the 2016 and 2024 elections, and its meaning in biblical end times prophecy, including the 7-year tribulation period, the Gog and Magog War, and the relationship between the United States and Israel. The events happening on April 8th will astonish people worldwide. Alongside the usual celestial displays like bright planets and meteor showers in the spring season, this once-in-a-lifetime solar eclipse will darken the daytime sky, beginning a few nights earlier on March 19th. The sun's path crossing the celestial equator from south to north marks the earliest start to spring in 128 years, since 1896. Following this, more astronomical events will occur, culminating in the total solar eclipse on April 8th. Stay tuned as we uncover the deeper significance behind this extraordinary event. The upcoming total solar eclipse will offer a breathtaking experience as it put people along a narrow path into darkness midday. However, even those outside the path of totality can witness the moon passing in front of the sun by using eclipse glasses, creating an awe-inspiring and somewhat perplexing sight both on the ground and in the sky. On this day, the sun, moon, and earth will align perfectly, casting the shadow of the moon across the planet and producing a total solar eclipse, visible along a narrow path stretching from southwest to northeast across North America, spanning 14 U.S. states. Additionally, all of Canada will have the opportunity to witness at least a partial eclipse, marking the first time since February 26, 1979, that a total solar eclipse will be directly visible from the southern part of Canada. Total solar eclipses are rare celestial events that occur when the moon passes precisely between the sun and the earth, projecting a shadow onto the planet. Standing under the path of this shadow, all of the sun's rays will be blocked out for a few minutes, resulting in a momentary darkness during the day, even if clouds obscure the sky. The exact timing, duration, and extent of coverage of the sun by the moon at maximum eclipse vary depending on one's location. However, one thing is certain: a total solar eclipse is far more remarkable than a lunar or annular solar eclipse, offering a truly unforgettable experience for those fortunate enough to witness it. During an annular eclipse, the moon covers the sun, leaving a ring-like shape known as the Ring of Fire around the edges. This phenomenon darkens the sky but doesn't plunge Earth into complete darkness like a total solar eclipse does. On the other hand, a lunar eclipse occurs when the moon passes into the Earth's shadow, often resulting in a reddish appearance, hence the term blood moon. While many view these celestial events as normal natural occurrences, others interpret them as messages from God. Some believe that these phenomena are signs of impending calamity, indicating that God is turning away from humanity as a punishment for our misdeeds. Biblical passages, such as those found in the book of Amos and the book of Joel, describe solar eclipses as ominous portents, signaling the arrival of the great and terrible day of the Lord. The ancient Israelites traditionally considered solar eclipses were considered as the bad omens, as the daytime darkness they bring feels inherently foreboding. During these events, animals may behave strangely, plants may react, and temperatures can drop significantly. Some interpretations suggest that a red appearance of the sun during an eclipse predicts war, while a black shadow forecasts famine. From a biblical perspective, solar eclipses are seen as signs from God, as indicated in Genesis 1:14, where God declared celestial events to serve as signs. These phenomena are beyond human control, serving as reminders of God's power and authority over creation. Whether interpreted as natural occurrences or divine messages, solar eclipses continue to captivate and provoke contemplation across cultures and beliefs. Solar eclipses hold biblical and prophetic significance when their timing aligns with the biblical calendar and specific locations. Understanding these patterns leads many to interpret them as signs from God, particularly in the context of end-times prophecies. While solar eclipses occur globally approximately every 18 months, total eclipses visible from a specific location are much rarer, happening only once in several hundred years on average. These events occur when the moon passes between the sun and the earth, blocking out a part of the sun's rays. In biblical passages, Exodus 10:21-23 described darkness covering the land as a divine sign, notably during the plagues of Egypt. Similarly, during Jesus' crucifixion, there are accounts of darkness descending on the land. Mark 15:32-33. Prophecies in the book of Revelation, as well as in Matthew and Mark, also speak of the sun going dark. Revelation 6:12. Shortly after Jerusalem's defeat, Nebuchadnezzar decreed the erection of a colossal golden statue, standing 90 feet tall on the plain of Dura in Babylon, a statue representing himself. He gathered officials to dedicate it, commanding all to bow down and worship the image upon hearing music or face being cast into a fiery furnace. As the ceremony commenced, everyone obeyed except for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Their refusal to conform sparked envy and hatred among certain Chaldean officials. Viewing the Hebrews' allegiance to their own god as grounds for revenge, these officials reported them to Nebuchadnezzar. Infuriated upon learning of their disobedience, as recounted in Daniel 3:13-14, Nebuchadnezzar summoned the trio before him. He demanded to know if they would defy his gods and the golden image he had erected. The Jewish men, resolute and unyielding, replied that they had no need to defend themselves. They believed their God could deliver them from the fiery furnace. But even if he chose not to, they refused to worship the king's gods or his statue. In essence, they declared, "We fear our God more than your furnace. Even unto death we will serve the living God." Enraged, Nebuchadnezzar ordered the fire to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. When Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown in, the men casting them perished from the intense heat. Yet inside the furnace, Nebuchadnezzar witnessed a miraculous sight. 4 men walking unharmed, untouched by the flames. The 4th appeared like an angel, suggesting a divine presence. Nebuchadnezzar recognized the 4th person as the Son of God, indicating Jesus' presence with them in the furnace. Though Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego may not have realized Jesus was with them, the evidence was undeniable. It showcased God's power to astonish even the most hardened hearts, like Nebuchadnezzar's. Despite his arrogance, he encountered someone infinitely superior. Daniel 3:26-27 reveals that Nebuchadnezzar approached the furnace and summoned the trio to come out. When they emerged, not a hair on their heads was singed, their garments were untouched, and there was no smell of smoke. Despite facing what seemed like certain death, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego defied the odds and survived. The fire intended to harm them was no match for their faith in the one true God. This miraculous outcome underscored their unwavering faith, trust in God. Prior to the sieges mentioned by the prophet Jeremiah, there were indications of impending judgment on the land. Severe plague and famine had been afflicting the area for several years, weakening the nations and preparing them for the invasion by Babylon. Jeremiah 38:2 reveals God's warning. Those who remained in the city would face death by sword, famine, and pestilence, while those who surrendered to the Chaldeans would live. If you take a look at what's happened recently, beginning in 2020, we had all four signs present not just over America but the world: plague, famine, economic hardships, major civil unrest concerning the riots and protests, followed lastly with war dealing with Russia. All of these things are signs of sin and idolatry that are occurring in the nations, and signs of God's judgments on the earth. It doesn't mean it's the end times, although the signs are all around us, that we are drawing ever so nearer, but they are nonetheless signs of judgment and idolatry. So if these are in fact signs of judgment, there must be a reason for an event or something to have happened to result in judgment, and there must have been some signs that occurred warning the people before the judgments were unleashed, right? Because God never does anything without first revealing it to His servants, the prophets. In the Bible, the moon usually stands for Israel, and the sun represents other nations. These ideas come from the creation story, where God made the sun, moon, and stars on the fourth day. But it's interesting because plants were made before the sun on the third day, which makes us wonder about how life was sustained back then. The Bible talks about strange things happening in the sky before big events, like the sun going dark and the moon turning red. People see these as signs that something important is about to happen, like a big judgment day. From 2014 to 2015, there were 4 special lunar eclipses, or blood moons, during Jewish festivals. Some people think this is a sign of God's power and care for Israel. The red color of the moon during these eclipses reminds people of blood and judgment. And since the eclipses happened over 2 years, it makes some think about division and trouble, especially in Israel. Joel 3:1-2 points to a significant event that marks the beginning of a period known as the 7-year tribulation, accompanied by the judgment of nations. It describes a time when God will intervene to restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem. At this juncture, God will summon all nations to the valley of Jehoshaphat for trial. The reason behind this trial is their mistreatment of Israel, God's chosen people. The nations are held accountable for scattering the people of Israel among themselves and for dividing up the land that God had given to His people. This division of Israel's land has contemporary relevance, particularly in the context of ongoing geopolitical conflicts. The text singles out regions such as Tyre, Sidon, and Philistia, modern-day Gaza Strip, which have historically been associated with opposition to Israel. Philistia, home to the ancient Philistines, now hosts the Palestinian population. The reference to Tyre and Sidon invokes the Phoenician territories known for their trade and influence. Today, the issue of dividing the land of Israel remains a contentious topic, often linked to efforts to establish a two-state solution involving Israel and the Palestinians. The mention of Philistia and its modern-day association with the Palestinian people underscores the significance of this region in contemporary discussions surrounding the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Moreover, the prophet Daniel prophesies about a future peace treaty involving Israel and its neighbors, including the Palestinians. This treaty, lasting for a period of 7 years, is a pivotal event in biblical prophecy and is expected to be confirmed by a figure known as the Antichrist. The Antichrist's role in confirming this peace agreement is significant, as it marks the beginning of the tribulation period. In Ezekiel's writings, particularly in his discourse concerning the king of Tyre, there are foreshadowings of the Antichrist and his actions. These passages offer insight into the broader biblical narrative surrounding the end times and the role of geopolitical events, such as the division of Israel's land, in shaping eschatological prophecy. After the Greek and Roman conquest of Tyre and Sidon, Phoenician influence spread to Greece and Rome. The Phoenicians played a significant role in shaping European history, with the continent itself being named after Europa, the daughter of a famous Phoenician king. This historical connection highlights the influence of Tyre and Sidon on modern institutions like the European Union, EU, United Nations, UN, and even the United States. Looking ahead to April 8, 2024, which marks 7 years after the first significant eclipse in August 2017, another eclipse is set to occur. This eclipse will be visible across the eastern half of the United States, forming a symbolic X across the nation. Unlike the 2017 eclipse, there won't be a corresponding Revelation 12 sign, and it precedes the 2024 presidential elections by 7 months. It's crucial to grasp the events leading up to the Gog and Magog war in biblical prophecy. The Bible foretells a time of peace in Israel, where the people live unsuspectingly without defensive measures. However, historical and biblical accounts show a pattern of disobedience and consequence among the Israelites. Dividing into Israel and Judah, they strayed from God's laws, leading to conflicts and eventually the dispersion of the 10 tribes by the Assyrian king. Similarly, Judah faced captivity due to sin but was later allowed to return, only to reject the promised Messiah and face further dispersal by Rome. Despite their disobedience, God continued to use Israel for His purposes, intending them to be a light to the nations. These historical events hold significance in understanding the context of biblical prophecy and the events leading up to the end times. The connection between lunar and solar eclipses and their significance in biblical prophecy runs deep. Lunar eclipses, often referred to as blood moons, serve as warnings for Israel, while solar eclipses signal warnings for the Gentile world. This pattern has repeated itself 8 times since the birth of Jesus, and each occurrence holds profound implications for Israel's destiny. One significant instance was in 1493–94, following King Ferdinand's expulsion of Jews from Spain in 1492. Christopher Columbus, who had Jewish ancestry, embarked on his historic voyage, leading to the discovery of America. Similarly, in 1949–50, a tetrad coincided with Israel's declaration of independence, marking its miraculous rebirth as a nation after centuries of exile. The tetrad of 1967–68 followed the Six-Day War, during which Jerusalem was reclaimed as Israel's capital after 2,000 years. And in 2014–15, a tetrad accompanied by a solar eclipse hinted at potential turmoil for the non-Jewish world. This period coincided with significant political developments, including President Trump's diplomatic initiatives with Sudan. These celestial events serve as reminders of God's ongoing involvement in human affairs, especially His covenant with Israel. They underscore the importance of discerning the signs of the times as we navigate through turbulent epochs. The next tetrad, a rare series of 4 consecutive blood moons, won't occur for another 500 years. But recently, on November 8, 2022, a significant blood moon appeared during the midterm election in the United States. This event reminds us of the biblical prophecies about a time of divine judgment. According to the book of Revelation, there will be a day when people, regardless of their status or wealth, will try to hide from God's wrath. They will seek refuge in caves and mountains, fearing the judgment that is coming. But there will be no escape from God's judgment. This event is known as the Sixth Seal Judgment. It will be a scary time for those who remain after the rapture of the church. It shows us that we need to be spiritually prepared for uncertain times and be mindful of the consequences of our actions.